All right, fellas. It's good to be with you all again, man. You know, there's something about a room being filled with the voices of men praising Jesus. Amen? Yeah. So, hey, this morning we are here to hear a testimony. And you know, when you look at Scripture, oftentimes we think, well, what is a testimony but simply what God is doing in our life? And sometimes when we talk about testimonies and talk about sharing your testimony with somebody, it's just like, I don't know, are they really going to want to hear what's going on in my life? I felt that way. It's just like, it's just stuff. Like, it's just stuff going on. There's this really unique passage in the book of Revelation. Yeah, I'm going to be that guy, okay? Book of Revelation. Where it's talking about, it's this really weird story, obviously, if you've read Revelation, of like this like dragon and all this stuff, but there's this point in this whole story where it says, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb. And so you think, wow, that's amazing. By the blood of Jesus, yes, we all agree that that's the name that's above all names, that the blood that Jesus shed for us was powerful and broke the chain of sin and death in our lives, yes. But the phrase doesn't end there. It says, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. We talk about what it is to have a testimony, to what it is to share what Jesus is doing in your life. What Jesus is doing in your life can destroy the work of the enemy in somebody else's life. What Jesus is doing in your life is enough to overcome the evil one. You just get to say it. Your job as a follower of Jesus is just to speak it out. This is what God is doing in my life. And by hearing somebody else's testimony, your faith will grow. And so if nothing else this morning, my prayer for all of us is that we would leave with a boldness to share the testimony of what God is doing in our life. And don't get stuck on that word testimony. It's simply, what is God up to in you? How has he changed you? And so we're going to hear a testimony this morning, and so everybody, please help me welcome up Brandon Cooks. What's up, buddy?
Thank you. Always.
Yeah. Come on, grab my hand.
Alrighty.
Yeah. Cool. Brandon, thanks for being here, buddy.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's a good crew of fellas, huh?
Yeah, it is. It is. Thanks for everybody coming out. I love it.
Cool. Well, hey, so kind of what we want to do this morning is I've just got a list of questions here. Okay. I'm just going to go through some questions. You can answer them. If you feel the need to expand, go ahead and expand.
Okay.
If you feel the need to say pass. I'll move on to the next. We're all good. But basically, let's get started.
All right.
Okay. Question number one. Brandon, when did you first fall in love with football?
I fell in love. I was probably 7 years old. I remember vividly, my brother was playing. I always wanted to play. I couldn't play organized yet because I was too young. But I always knew I felt like I could be better than them. And from that moment, when I saw them doing good, I fell in love with it because that gave me the hope that I could be good one day too.
That's awesome. So 7 years old, started playing football. When did you first play your first organized football?
I was 9.
You were 9.
I was 9 years old.
Flag, tackle?
Tackle right away. No flag. We went straight to the helmets and pads. It wasn't organized like it is today. They didn't really care about our safety too much back then, I feel like. So put the helmet and pads on and just go out there and play.
All right. That's awesome. So then talk to me about high school. Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Lincoln High School in Stockton, California.
In Stockton.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And you played football there too?
Played football all my years there. Yep. Okay.
Was that the only sport you played?
No, I played basketball. Wasn't too good at it. I ran track, and I played a little bit of baseball, but let's just say stick to football and track. And let the other ones to someone else.
That's awesome. Okay, so high school in Stockton. Okay, talk about college football. You played at OSU, Oregon State. Who's Oregon State? Yeah, go Bees.
Seems like we got a house divided in here. Who's the other half? The Ducks?
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that other half right now. Yeah. But Oregon State wasn't going to be where you went, right? Mm-hmm. Talk about that.
I was committed to UCLA at first. That was, my dream school growing up. But at the time, Coach Neuheisel was the head coach. You know, as a part, everyone felt like if he didn't have a successful season the next year, he'll be fired, and eventually he was. So it was a lot of prayer. And once I met Coach Riley on my official visit, my mom fell in love with him. And so I think it was hard to pass that up. She felt like I was going to be in good hands. And at the same time, it was producing great receivers in the pro-style system. So it was part of a business decision because my ultimate goal was to go to the NFL as well as a place where I feel like I can grow and be who I am. I'm not a big city boy, so I think LA was going to be the wrong fit for me. Yeah.
Gotcha. So you talk about your mom. So
Yeah.
your mom was around. What about other siblings?
My 3 older brothers, you know, were around throughout the process as well. You know, my oldest and my second oldest was really heavy in the process. They're sports fanatics. But really, I just leaned on my mom's shoulder, you know, because we're extremely close, me and my mom. You know, that's like my best friend. And I just feel like moms has those senses, you know, especially in big decisions in your life. So I leaned on her shoulder, and we kind of took it on together.
That's awesome. So you're the youngest of 4 boys.
Youngest of 4 boys.
Yeah, and you thought you could be better than all of them at football. It's like I
Absolutely.
got you.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. I feel like the youngest always get the you know, the better end of the stick when it comes to sports. You know, trial and error for them. You see it, you figure it out, and you don't go to the error part. You just go, you know, to the successful part, I guess.
That's awesome. So at what point did your brothers realize, oh, he's got me?
Probably at 9.
Yes. It's like, no more.
Well, my oldest brother, he was more of a basketball player, so he know. And then my second oldest, he was the football player, but he didn't have the speed, you know.
Yeah.
So I think right then and there, he was like, okay, I got to figure out what I say to him, and, you know, be careful what I say, because it's gonna come back and bite me. And I think
awesome.
it did.
So Oregon State, you played at Oregon State for how many years?
3 years. I just
3
stayed
years.
there 3 years. Yes.
Okay.
I left early as a junior.
You left as a junior after for the draft.
Yes. Yep.
So obviously, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know if there's very many of us in this room that have actually gone through a draft day as one of the players.
Yeah, we have Mike. I know we have one in
We
here
got
for
one
sure.
over
We
here?
have Mike.
Okay, there we go. There we
Yes.
go. All right, so there's one. Awesome. For the rest of us, walk us through draft day. Like, what is that like? Walk us through your draft day. Like, what's going through your mind? Where you at?
Well, when I declared for the draft, I remember, because the process you go through, you can send in as a guy that wants to leave early. You send in, they give you a grade back, like, okay, they think you're going to go first round, second round. And in my mind, I felt like if I got back a grade that I'll go third round, I would declare.
Okay.
And so I got back a second round grade. So like, okay, I'm going to declare. And that's that process of leaving, you know, then you're training. I trained in San Diego that whole time before Combine. And then you go through Combine. Combine is like I don't know how to explain. It's probably one of the most stressful moments of that whole process, just because you don't get any sleep. You know, you stand in Indianapolis underneath a train track. So throughout the night, every hour the train track is going. And I think they do it like that on purpose, just to see, you know, who's going to break.
Right.
You know, that was a pretty good day. And then draft day, you know, I had the decision to stay at home or go to New York. My dream was always go to the green room.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I took my family. We're out in the big city, in the Big Apple, I should say. And that was another stressful time. Everything leading up to it was fun, but as soon as the day hit and you're back in that green room, it's probably a quarter of this size, and you're stuffed in there with probably 30 other players, and you're hearing everybody else's phone being called. There's like an old school phone right there, and if it rings, that means, you know, you're getting drafted. So I thought everyone thought I was going to the Jets at pick 15. Pick 15 goes by. I'm like, yeah, I guess that grade was correct. I'm going second round. And then all of a sudden I get a phone call from New Orleans on my cell phone, actually. And, you know, it was Coach Payton, you know, let me know that they're drafting me. And after that moment, I hang up the phone, walk up the stage, and from that moment, you know, I feel like my life was changing for the better. My dreams was coming true.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. That's awesome, dude. So what number did you get drafted then?
Pick 20. first round.
Pick 20. So Jets didn't take you at 15.
Jets didn't take me.
Who did they take?
They took a free safety.
Okay.
A good thing it wasn't a receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get the call from Coach Payton,
Yeah.
going to New Orleans. For you at that moment, what's going on in your mind thinking about going to New Orleans, playing? Have you ever been to New Orleans before?
Never.
So what's going on? Like, is this like an exciting thing for you? I mean, obviously you got drafted by the Saints, but like, what else? What's happening in your mind thinking about New Orleans, and what made you excited about going there?
Well, the exciting part right away was playing with Drew Brees, being a young guy coming into the league, not having to play with a young quarterback right off the bat was like, okay, this is awesome. The other side to it, I heard a lot about New Orleans, and everyone says it's like the dirty South. And I never left the West Coast my whole life, and so I'm like, oh boy. And then I get there off the plane, and you can tell, unfortunately, everything that went on with Katrina, they haven't recovered from. But at the end of the day, I think it was just a blessing because of a great opportunity to speak life and to what a lot of people would say is a solar city.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. And so then you played for New Orleans how many years?
3 years. Yep.
3 years. You got drafted to the Patriots. Traded to the Patriots,
Mm-hmm.
sorry.
Yeah.
Traded to the Patriots.
Yeah.
So how does that, obviously you're putting your heart and your soul into this team, then you get the phone call or somebody just tells you, or how do you, what's that look like? Then you're going up to New England.
Coach Belichick, so during the trade, Coach Belichick just give me a call, and as you all probably may know if you listen to him in the interview, what you see is what you get. Hey, Brandon, you've been traded to the Patriots. I'll see you tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow.
It went from Coach Payton, who's is this young, energetic guy, to monotone Coach Belichick, who I love.
Right.
But I get traded, and then I'm like, okay, this is awesome because I know for a fact we're going to the playoffs.
Okay.
Let alone to the AFC Championship, and the Super Bowl is 99% chance. So I'm like, all right, I'm excited about it, and at the end of the day, you get to play with Tom Brady, who's known as the best quarterback to ever play this game. I'll go from Drew Brees to another Hall of Famer. I'm like, you can't beat that.
Right.
The only downfall was how cold it gets.
Yeah.
So, and there's no indoor to practice in on Coach Belichick terms. So.
Okay. So you practice outside.
I get there, I shake his hand, 2-second conversation.
Yeah.
And then we're on about our business.
Just going.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, you went from Drew Brees to Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference? For those of us, again, that don't know this, that aren't in this world, what's the biggest difference between a Drew Brees huddle and a Tom Brady huddle?
I would say Drew, he's more, military style. He's just straightforward. He's in the huddle, no extra talk.
Right.
He's more about let's just get the job done. Let our actions speak for itself.
Uh-huh.
Whereas Tom, he has a little more fun with it. He's in the huddle, talking. If we have a break, we out there goofing around. I think it's just unbelievable on how he can flip the switch, though. He goes from, having fun, and all of a sudden, as soon as he called a play, it's like that switch has been flipped. And then here we go. But both of them are great. You really can't go wrong with either.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So then you did get, it was a good chance, and you made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, we made the playoffs.
Went all the way through the playoffs, played in the Super Bowl.
Unfortunately.
So how crazy was the Super Bowl? We watch, it's like, for most of us, it's like, let's get some nachos and some wings, and let's sit down with a bunch of buddies and watch the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. For you, what's that like from your point of view, playing into the Super Bowl?
That whole week, because you get out there on that Monday, so you're there the whole time. The week leading up to the game is chaos.
Yeah.
Media day, hours a day that you're sitting on this podium. It's an entertainment leading up to it. And then once you get in the game, it's probably the most cameras you'll ever see at an event when it comes to football. The lights are flashing. A lot of the talk before the game, Coach Belichick warning guys that haven't been there on how, seeing the ball is going to be completely different because everyone wants that moment, that picture. And so there's so many photographers out there, lights, camera, action, that it's a lot harder to play when it comes to seeing the ball just because there's so much going on. It's an entertainment, like I said. And then while you guys are watching the commercials and eating nachos and having fun watching the halftime show,
Right.
you know, our halftime is like 30 minutes longer. So it's like a game within itself every half because on how long the breaks are,
Yeah.
and all these commercials that we got to give to you guys. we can't get in the groove.
Thanks. The Doritos commercial is pretty good this year.
Yeah,
Appreciate
well,
that.
I haven't seen it yet, so probably will never see it.
I don't know, I was just pulling it out. That's awesome, man. But I remember you and I were talking a little bit a while ago, a few months ago, about the Super Bowl, and one of the most amazing aspects of the Super Bowl you were saying is just the ability to just speak to the media on whatever. Like, talk through that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this is the only time that really, for believers, that we really get a chance to profess our faith and do it without being cut off on the camera, because there's so many media outlets there. You know, you have the Christian media outlets and different type of worship outlets that's going on because everyone is allowed. As long as you have credentials, everyone is allowed at Media Day. So for me, that was awesome, and a bunch of other guys, because we was able to share our testimony in a sense and talk about our faith and actually have people that wanted to listen to it, not just get the football questions, which was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Cool. So then the beginning of this year, though, then you were traded to the Rams.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we got a Rams jersey out here today, too. There we go, right there.
There he
Rams
is.
jersey, yeah. Go Rams.
Yeah.
So walk us through that again. So you go from Belichick, go from playing in the Super Bowl, you get a phone call. I saw the Schefter tweet saying you got traded. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I hope it was awesome. For me, I was like, that's
right.
great. What about you? Like,
No,
what's in your thoughts?
I loved every bit of it. I mean, this game is just, it's one of the things that you never know what you're going to get. You know, I'm blessed that I'm not getting traded because I'm not doing well.
Right.
You know, with the Patriots, they just do things the quote-unquote Patriot way. In the way that they view cap space and all the business side of it is what it is. I have a lot of respect for them. I mean, I still talk to some of the guys.
Yeah.
Coach stays in touch with me. That was more so a business decision on their end. And Coach Belichick, I think, did me justice by thinking of a team that I could fit in. You know, his words to me was he felt like I can be successful here, and at the end of the day, get the contract that I'm looking for. So, and then the Rams have been trying for 2 years. They tried the year before when the Patriots got me, but they didn't have a first-round pick. They only had a second round, so they lost that bid in war. This year they had a first-round pick and felt like they had a shot, and they did so. So now here we are with Jared Goff, who's a young quarterback, but a good quarterback that's on the rise. And I think that's great for me to be able to play a long time with him and build that rapport.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. That's awesome. So in the midst of this whole, basically your whole football history, all the way growing up from 7 years old all the way through till present day, at what point in your story here did Jesus come into the picture?
I would have to say around 11, 12 years old. You know, I grew up in a household with 3 older brothers and my mom, and my dad died when I was 7. And so my mom was always gone. My brothers, you know, they was in and out the house. It's not like my mom didn't believe. We just never really was able to see her. So when I met my best friend Ramon and his family, they had a strong household when it came to their faith. And I started to get curious. And so I started to go to church with him. I started to go over his house more. And I started to really learn about God. And then at that point, it was more so God drew near to me. And then it was a no-brainer to go down that route. And ever since then, my life has really changed for the better. And not saying everything is perfect, but at the end of the day, my thoughts and ways are totally different than what they were then and to now. And then once I got to college, you know, my chaplain and I, we became really close and grew that relationship. And I really understood who Christ was. And then I got to the Saints, and I remember Ben Watson, who was one of my mentors, being baptized in the cold tub. And, you know, I was baptized young, but I didn't know what was going on. So I felt like it was a need to do it again, not just for myself, but in front of my peers, to be able to be held accountable, honestly.
Oh, so then you got baptized then?
Yeah, I got baptized my rookie year in the ice bath.
Yeah.
in New Orleans.
You're really baptized then.
Yeah,
That's
it was,
like,
all right. It was freezing. It was freezing, but it was well worth it. And ever since then, I just been trying to do my best to be a great example. And then you asked a question on being on these different teams, being traded.
Yeah.
You know, the way I look at it is go make disciples of many nations and baptize them in the name of Jesus. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's really cool. That's awesome, dude. So in this, what would you say the biggest difference that Jesus has made in your life?
I would have to say just the way that I react on in situations, and my thought process, like, you know, the fruit of the spirit versus the fruit of the flesh. You know, just quite honestly, before I met him, I always, you know, I didn't stay in step with the spirit. I didn't know what was really going on, but at the end of the day, now that I know him and now he's been leading my life, it's been easier to deal with changes, whether they're good or bad, but just because I always know he's there. You know, he's got me out of situations throughout my life that there's a no-brainer that it had to be him. So, you know, like Paul said in Philippians, he learned how to be content, whether well-fed or in need. He could do all things. So that's my thought process now, that Christ has saved me, is that I can do all things no matter what the situation is.
That's awesome, man. Wow. Well, as you've been moving through the teams and around different people in the NFL, does having a relationship with Jesus, being an outspoken follower of Jesus, change the way that you're treated by your teammates? Is there any of that goes on?
You know what? If anything, you know, we're treated better in a sense because they have so much respect for guys that profess their faith and stand firm in it. You know, all the teams that I've been on so far, we've had great group of guys that led. You know, and I think this being on the Rams now is going to be a great challenge because we're so young, and you know, right off the back, you don't see that type of group that I would have in New Orleans or New England. So I think this is a calling for not just me, but a couple other believers on the team to be able to build that foundation. And as far as being treated different, there's no difference. At the end of the day, we all linked in arms and we go to battle together.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's awesome. And are there other, like, of your teammates in LA that are followers of Jesus too?
Absolutely.
So
Cooper,
you got.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Sorry.
Cooper Kupp is one that comes to mind right away. Young guy, but as soon as I got traded and got there was just this feeling and this excitement for not just being teammates, but having another brother there to be able to profess the gospel with.
That's awesome. And you find, like, once you find those guys, it just makes, there's just that accountability and that strength as you move forward. You find that to be helpful?
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, as you know, it's not an easy life to live, and it's so much easier to do the other things that you shouldn't be doing. But being around people that will hold you accountable is a lot better, just because, you know, you don't want to be a stumbling block for other guys. And so to have that person in your life, or multiple people in your life, and being in a locker room or in a game like this, I think is real helpful.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's cool. So in this whole thing, where do you, in your world here, when is it the most difficult for you to stand for your faith? Like, what is some of the most difficult? Because some of us guys here, like, we'll do things and we'll get, you know, sometimes it's really hard if you got a group of guys all doing one thing. It's like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
But in your world, like, is there some things like that? It's like, this is a hard time.
You know, I think it's just times when it comes to whether it's you know, to, like, a lot of stuff that's going on today. You know, unfortunately, we haven't, like, for instance, the families that's being separated at the border. You have justice problems, or whatever the case may be. Those are times that it can be hard, just because you don't want to say the wrong thing, in a sense, and offend someone. But at the end of the day, you know, on the other side of it is, if you got something to say that's from the word, that it can't be wrong. You know, so sometimes those are the moments that can be tough. But other than that, it's pretty easy for the most part, but those are big
Yeah.
big ones that stand out.
That's good because everything you say, every tweet you do, everything is getting looked at.
Everything's getting looked
Yeah.
at. Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. All right. So, fellas, what we're going to do here, towards the end of the time, we're going to actually have some open Q&A. And so we'll have a microphone passed around to ask Brandon some questions. So if you have some thoughts, write them down, think about it. But I have a couple rapid fire questions for you, Brandon. All right. It's going to be rapid fire. Just top of your head. Just spit it out. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Cool.
Do you prefer to play turf or on grass?
Turf.
Why?
Faster.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Indoor or outdoor stadiums?
Indoor.
Why?
No wind.
No wind.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Do you prefer a quick slant or a deep post?
Deep post.
Why?
Bombs over Baghdad.
Yes. All right. Do you prefer to play with an inflated or deflated football? Sorry, bro. Sorry.
Deflated because it's easier to catch.
Okay. It was on here. It was here. I just asked. So. Okay. Do you prefer to play home or away?
Away.
Away?
Yeah.
Okay, so this probably goes to the next question. Would you rather be the favorite or the underdog?
Underdog.
Why?
I think it's just that added extra motivation, and I think it makes the story that much better when you do win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, toughest cornerback you've matched up against?
Patrick Peterson.
Just.
He's just, a guy that's fast, but he's real technical as well, and he's long.
Yeah.
I feel like he's a guy that, he has it all.
Yeah. Have you scored on him?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, all right. There we go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you play fantasy football?
No.
If you did, would you draft yourself?
No. Absolutely not.
Do you want to be on my fantasy team league? It's
Absolutely
just a question.
not.
Okay. It's a question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, mark that one off. Okay. So currently playing for the Rams, you've just gone through OTAs. What are some other things going on in your life right now?
Actually, I'm getting ready to marry my best friend next weekend.
Woo! It's awesome.
So we get married at the house next weekend, and then a quick honeymoon, and then back to work. So
That's right.
Yeah, that's all that's going on. I'm pretty boring other than playing football. So
Yeah, sounds horrible. So you got into the Rams, went through OTAs. So how difficult though is it to learn a new playbook? Because we're not just talking about a few plays here. We're talking.
it's not hard, to be honest. In fact, I wish the way I learned playbooks and how easy it is, I could have did in school, because it seems hard because of all the terminology and whatnot, but I think you just put the picture to the words, and they all usually have a meaning behind it.
Yeah.
So it's not hard at all.
Okay, so just so we're all clear, so we all have an idea, you're in the huddle. What's like an example of one play call?
Let me see. For instance, I write book wax 58 squirrel rash, something like that.
Squirrel rash?
Yeah.
So what's squirrel mean? I mean, maybe you can't say.
I think we got some NFC West fans in here too, so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's all good.
We'll leave it at that.
All right. That's awesome. Okay. That's awesome. All right. So, Brandon, being in the position that you're in, playing at a level you're playing at in the NFL, not many people get to do what you do and do it as well as you do. And so when you play, I really believe that God has created you to do what you're doing. And for you, when you play football, it's an act of worship. And it's how what you're doing, what He's created you to do. But because of that position, though, you have a voice. You have basically a stage, an influence that a lot of guys don't have. And so if you were to stand up here and say, okay, Brandon, you've got this stage. What's one thing that you would want these guys to know this morning? What would that be?
I would have to say, first of all, whatever you have going in life, we all have some type of gift that's been given influenced by God. I truly believe that whether a million people see it or just one person sees it, I think it's just very important to just stand firm in our faith, to serve God, whether people honor us, despise us, whether they slander us or praise us. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because what he did on the cross for our sins, nothing can beat that. And we don't deserve his grace. And I would just say the whole being perfect thing is not really important, because no one can be perfect. You know, that's why Christ had to die for us, just to be the best that we can possibly be for his kingdom, and to construct our heart to be more like him, and less like this world, you know, to stay in step with the spirit, because it's just important in our world today. And as man, I think everyone looks to us on what's going on. And if, you know, I think we got to get rid of the whole fallacy of, you know, men are tough. You know, we don't show emotion, or we don't love, or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, love conquers all. And if we do that in all of our relationships, with strangers, with people that we know, in our household, with our wives, I mean, there's a reason why we're the head of the household, because we got to be that example for our wives, our kids, and just to love. Because at the end of the day, if we just do that and act, love, and just be kind in all that we do, I just feel like this world can be so much a better place. Everything else is going to take care of itself, because that's not our job. That's God's. That's God's job, and he will handle that on his timing. He doesn't make mistakes. His timing is perfect. But if we can just try to do those things, and just love as best as we can, no matter what's going on. I mean, just practicing when we out in traffic, when we get cut off, you know, instead of honk honk or whatever, you know, just try to take a deep breath. And it's so much easier said than done, don't get me wrong. But if we can just make a conscious effort of that, I think, you know, just for ourselves, that would be so much better. And, you know, continue to love our wives and bring up our women, because at the end of the day, they're the warriors. And if we're just being honest, we can't live life without them.
That's right.
So just continue to praise them and build them up, because at the end of the day, someday we won't be here, but we want to leave that mark, just loving and teaching our young ones that as well.
That's awesome, man. So in a second, fellas, we're going to do some Q&A here. But before we do that, I want to give you all kind of an update on Westside Men and what we're doing, what we're going on next. I appreciate your patience as we've been building out this new, what we're calling our men's challenge. It's a 90-day challenge. And as Brandon was talking about, you know, just being in on a team with a group of guys who are loving Jesus together, it just makes it better. Working with each other, bouncing things off each other, holding each other accountable. And in whatever field we're in, whatever world we're in, the same is true. If we got a group of guys around us who are loving Jesus together, you're just going to do better. Have more success as a follower of Jesus. And so that's what this 90-day challenge is about. It's about getting together as groups of guys and following hard after Jesus. And so what this looks like, registration is open today, by the way. What this looks like basically is that you'll register. If you have a group of guys that you want to do it, and by group I mean like 4 or 5 guys will be in one group, and you'll get weekly challenges. So you'll get like a podcast. You'll get you'll have a scripture read through plan for that week. You'll have different challenges to do, and it could be something as simple as before you leave for work in the morning, make sure you're affirming in some way your wife and your kids or somebody you're close to in that moment. And yeah, you're like, well, that's easy. Yeah, but let's do it consistently. Let's make this a habit. You know, they say that like 62, 63 days of doing something over and over forms a habit. We're going to go 90 days. We want to create a habit of some of these things. And so every week you'll be given this. You'll be checking in with your team every week. And at the end of the 90 days, we'll see what we've done. We'll see how we've been able to stay consistent and do this. So if you want to do this, you can do it one of 2 ways. You can just sign up. You can text WSMen to 41411. You can sign up that way and just like, yep, I'm just going to do this on my own, and we'll put you on a team. Or if you've got a group of 3 or 4 guys that you want to join together, get them together, write down their names on the registration form. I think, Lexi, is that on there now? Yeah, perfect. Write down on the registration form the name of the guys that you want to join. We'll put you on a team together. We're going to start this. There's no date. We're going to start this September 8th, so it's the first Saturday of September. I believe that's September 8th. First Saturday of September. Yes, it is. We're going to start this with a men's breakfast, just like this. We'll kick it off. We'll go for it. And then 90 days later, we'll close it off with a men's breakfast. So guys, I know that it's hard to do stuff like this. I know that it's like, really, do I want to dive into this? If we're serious about being followers of Jesus, if we're serious about going deep together, then let's do this. Let's hold each other accountable, and let's take 90 days and let's set them aside and see what God might do in our lives. All right? So registration is open today. Join me in doing this. I'm going to have a group of guys, and it's going to be hard, but it's going to be great. So join me. You can register online. All right. Matthew, where are you at, buddy? You're back there? Okay, so Matthew's got a handheld microphone. We have time for a few questions here, so he's going to kind of start on this side and move across. So questions. Raise your hand if you got one. Go ahead and speak up, speak loud. Don't take too long,
Hey, I was wondering if you had, not necessarily a favorite Bible verse, but just a Bible verse that, has meant a lot to you in hard times in your life?
Yeah, Philippians 4:13 is one of the ones, and then lately over the past 5 years, I think Psalm 144:6 has been very meant a lot to me and helps me through those times as well. Yeah.
It's awesome.
First, thank you for coming.
Stand up. Yep. Awesome. Thanks, man.
First, thank you for coming and being here today.
Thank you.
Appreciate your words you've shared. What we're seeing is the first time in decades athletes kind of speaking up and taking a public stand against injustice. Can you talk a little about how you felt called to be involved in that? You mentioned Ben Watson was a mentor of yours. He's in the Players Coalition. You have players like Malcolm Jenkins, Eric Reed, Christians who have stood up on racial injustice. Can you talk about your role in that, or why you haven't been called, I guess?
For me, I just have to say it's one of those things that you pray about, and when things are going on, whether you speak out or not, I think it's just, quite honestly, that I don't want to speak out on something that I'm not too educated in just yet. I feel like I want to learn more about exactly what's going on before I say anything. And at the end of the day, when I do speak out, when that comes that time, it's just going to revert back to the word and not actually giving my own opinion. Because if my opinion doesn't match up with what God says, then for me, honestly, it doesn't matter.
That's good, man. Yeah.
So once again, I just want to say thanks for coming out. It's a big deal for us and for my son. He's a big football fan.
Yeah.
My question is, as you become a kind of a somebody in the NFL and get closer to that 2,000-yard receiving season, that's going to be probably next year. How's being, some people would call famous? How's that affecting your, how you see yourself, and how's it affecting your faith?
For me, it's if anything, it's making my faith stronger. I don't see myself as famous. I really don't. Nothing's changed. I feel like from the moment before I played in the NFL to now. I mean, I'm still, I think, doing the same type of process. Just going home, hanging out with my dogs, and that's it. I just try to be the best image that I can be for what I'm called. And I think, like Weston had said earlier, that this has been a gift. I just use it to worship God just in a different way, whether it's through my play or the way I celebrate. I just try to do my best I can to bring him glory as he gives me this gift.
Yeah, that's good, man.
So, Brandon, tell us how you met your fiance and how you proposed.
I met her at Oregon State, and I met her going into my junior year. I asked to be my girlfriend in Hawaii at the bowl game, and then I proposed last year in Hawaii. But so we basically just I took my whole family out there. It was about 20 of us, big group, I know. And we get out there, and I was like, hey, we're going to go on this private helicopter tour, but no one wants to go. Everyone's too scared. Would you go with me? Obviously, even if she didn't want to go, she was going to go. So we get there, and then I hire a private photographer, and I'm like, oh, well, we had it private, but since no one wanted to come, 2 people got to come with us, which were the photographers. So the photographers are in the back of the helicopter the whole time, acting like we don't know each other. Although we talked on the phone because they had to swipe my credit card. And then we get out. We doing a tour over Maui on the helicopter, and then we land on this cliff, and then we're walking around, and then I'm in white pants. I didn't plan it correctly. I get on the knee, and I propose on the cliff, and then thank God she said yeah.
That's awesome.
And then we took off.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, so I have a question. So NFL, sometimes after the game, there's a lot of guys that get around and pray in a circle. Can you describe that?
Yeah, I think that's one of those long-standing things that goes on. Basically, it's like that. Everyone knows about it at the end of the game, no matter win or loss. You usually get in the circle, and usually the leader of that prospective team on the home team prays and pray out for the other team to get home safely, but as well as just thanking God for blessing us to be able to play the game that we play at such a high level. So it's a great circle, and I feel like over the years, more and more guys are, joining that circle, which has been great to see.
Yeah. That's cool.
Thank you for being here, Brandon. Go Beavs.
Go Beavs.
Yeah.
What do you plan to do after football?
For me, I love photography. I've been getting into photography over this past year, traveling for it and being mentored by a great photographer that's from Hawaii. So I think that's one of the things that I want to do from a professional standpoint. And then other than that, go travel the world and help as much as we can. And just helping out communities. Single moms mean the world to me just because of the house I grew up in. So just helping those type of families get on their feet, having a roof over their head, and doing things like that, more philanthropy type things. So, yeah.
What does it feel like to be at the bottom of a dog pile after you get tackled?
Well, I'm small, so I'm just surprised I'm not just being crushed completely, how small I am, how some of those guys. But it's just one of the things, I don't know if you have an older brother or not, but it's like your older brother's just ganging up on you during like a pillow fight, and then they just smother you the whole time. You can't breathe at all. So, yeah.
What's it like being knocked out?
It's all a part of the game. I mean, I don't know because I was knocked out. So, yeah. Good question.
Hey, Brandon, really quick question. Are you nervous to face Patrick Peterson, Richard Sherman, and the likes of the NFC West Coast?
No, not at all.
All right, well, you should be nervous about the 49ers because they're coming for you.
Fair enough.
Easy, fellas. All right, we got two
let's
more.
Remember we in church.
Hey, side story. My grandma got to spend like an hour with Tom Brady one time. She says he's a really nice guy. Is he a Christian? And if not, do you ever pray for him? Or other non-Christian athletes?
Tom is a great person. He's unique. As far as his faith, we never really talked about it. And I don't know if he is or if he's not, but I definitely pray for him. And I definitely pray for non quote unquote believers that are on the team as well. Just that there's an opportunity to speak light into them, and that God draw near to them. So
awesome.
So you've been all over the country living, playing
Seriously.
ball. What brings you to Solid Rock? Westside.
Westside. Come on, Joe. It's been Westside for years.
That's what I did learn it as, actually. So I obviously went to Oregon State. I fell in love with Oregon. the state of Oregon, and my fiance is from Albany. So it wasn't too hard to convince me to live here. So we live here in Portland during the off season now, and my chaplain from college had gave me a list of places to try out in the area. And I remember trying here out first, and never trying anything else out because it's a special place. So yeah.
It's awesome. All right.